This sode would not be possible without the support of our listeners, patrons, and sponsors. If you'd like to learn more about supporting the 3-Bit Gamer Show, check us out on Patreon at patreon.com/3BG. And a huge thanks goes out to our boss-level patrons, Christopher, Patrick, and entering the ring is a new boss-level patron. Everybody make some noise for Jeff! Jeff!
We can't keep this up forever.
We don't have any choice.
This is the 3rd city they've attacked this week. We're spread too thin.
It doesn't matter. We need to hold out a little longer for Slam Fist.
We don't even know if he's still alive. He's been gone for days, looking for...
Deathmoth, get up. Get up, Deathmoth. No laying down on the job, soldier. Slam Fist is still out there, still looking for a way to bring her back. Nothing will stop him, not even death. Now, Deathmoth, are you with me?
I'm with you.
Deathmoths, form up!
They're just gonna confess. The only reason I still want to do this is for that bit.
Okay, keep doing it.
You've just logged on to the 3-Bit Gamer Show. Welcome to the 3-Bit Gamer Show. I'm JD.
This is Peterson.
And the rest of the Deathmoths are out doing something else.
They're in a different fight tonight. So it's just us.
Trent's fighting for his life.
That's true.
Live from the 3-Bit Gamer Show. The news.
All right, our news this week, as with all weeks, is brought to us by Crave Cookies. Crave! You go to cravecookies.com, you check out Trent's Crazy Cookies. They've still got the brookie, if you haven't gotten there yet. Brought back the Reese's PB Explosion. That's the one that's just stuffed with Reese's Pieces and a Reese's Peanut Butter Cup. And it's also rolled in Reese's Pieces.
If it says Reese's on it, it's part of the cookie.
You know, I like this one, though, is because he didn't use his peanut butter base. Because that would have been a bit much for me. It's just their vanilla base, but a ton of Reese's Pieces. And I'm like, that's the balance I think I'm looking to strike on a peanut butter cookie. Don't overdo it.
I feel like Trent's trying to get me down to Crave this week because he has the Flintstone and the Berries and Cream, which are two of my very favorites. So I got to get down there.
Yeah. Yep. So check out Crave Cookies, cravecookies.com. They're in Midvale, Utah. They're on DoorDash, Uber Eats, and they have a drive-through, which is really tight. All right. We've got some news this week. First up is that, I don't know. I kind of think Cyberpunk's a fun beat. I kind of maybe just watching this train wreck is just, it's easy coverage, and I'm just lazy. Is maybe what we're learning here.
No, dude, this is a great beat because it fits perfectly with the I'd say the feel of our show, right? Yeah. It's all negative.
It's all negative. So CD Projekt Red, there was a shareholder meeting last Tuesday, and CD Projekt Red's management, they were asked by their shareholders, well, are you guys going to be able to sell your game on the PlayStation Store ever?
So what's going on with that the whole PlayStation Store thing?
It's
Anyone
really
working on it?
Easy, I think, and we've done a disservice on this podcast to understate the importance of this. The fact that within like their first week of launch, Cyberpunk 2077 was removed fully from Sony's PlayStation Store. So if you want to play this game on PS4 or 5, you have to buy the physical copy, right? You can still do that. But I don't know, but I can't even fathom like how many digital sales they're losing. If you guys remember how stunned I personally was to learn that PlayStation accounts for the vast majority of Fortnite's earnings. It's not like just it's not like a third of their income on Cyberpunk is just like, oh, they lost a third. And even if they did lose a third, that's a pretty significant chunk. So yeah, they asked, and CEO Adam Kisnicki, there's accents over letters I'm not used to seeing accents over.
Yeah, it's
that's what's happening here.
Yep.
So our CEO Adam said, unfortunately, I have no new information. We're still in discussions, and with every patch, the game gets better, and there is a visible progress. But as we said, the decision is an exclusive decision of Sony. So basically, no news. We're trying kind of to make the game better, but Sony is just kind of stonewalling, and they're like, well, we'll make it. I mean, at what point does it become like good enough that Sony's like, okay, here you go, back on the store? Because the second that happens, thousands of angry gamer nerds, all of whom have already received their refunds for Cyberpunk, will descend upon Sony's Twitter account with hateful tweets about how dare they declare that the game is apparently at the launch promise version, I guess you would call it. Because basically anytime Sony makes that decision, that's essentially what they're saying, because they said we pulled it from the store because it didn't line up with what was promised by the game developer. And so once they feel that it does reach that point, which quite frankly doesn't seem likely to ever happen, that's when they'll just be like, okay, you can sell your game on our store again.
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, my favorite part of this story is just the absolute corporate speak in it.
Oh, God.
His responses are, he says a paragraph's worth of response without saying
and it just
a
says
single
no.
thing.
He just says no.
He essentially says in like 3 sentences, the more we work on it, the closer we are.
Yep.
I was like, of course.
Technically,
like,
yes.
What are you doing working on it? Actually, we've been erasing a lot of stuff. We're actually further away. We've been using a lot of highlighting and deleting.
We've just been cutting things out of the game, and you know what? It is getting us farther away from our goal.
Who
would have thought? Other things they're trying to do. CD Projekt Red has apparently appointed a new game director for Cyberpunk.
Smart, yeah. They need a new game director.
Just shake things up at the top. That's always what you want. Just see what happens. This guy, Gabriel Amatangelo?
The hard part is because you want to say Tangelo at the end, but it's
Gabriel Amatangelo, who sounds like a rejected Ninja Turtle, joined as the creative director in January of 2020.
Amatangelo.
And
he's
what?
The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle with still the crack in his voice, like he's not quite through puberty yet. Pre-Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle.
And he uses a cardboard tube as a weapon.
Amatangelo.
I'm going to kick your butts. Look out for Gabriel Amatangelo. So this guy just joined the studio in January of 2020, which I'm just like trying to picture this guy's career at CD Projekt Red, because if we remember correctly, the game was supposed to launch in April of 2020, wasn't delayed until kind of early 2020, I believe. Mm-hmm. So this guy came on thinking that he would have to, he joins in January, and he's thinking this is a game that's like pretty ready to ship if it's going to come out in 4 months. He shows up his first day, and he just like walks in, and for the first time ever, they actually open the doors, and it's like when you open the tent flap of a circus when they're setting it up, and he's like, "Oh fuck! Oh wait, this is where the game is at?" And they're like, "Yeah," and he's like, "You want to release in April?" They're like, "Yeah," and then that whole journey
all the
of
elephants are just walking around taking dumps right in the middle,
and a guy, that lion tamer, steps in a dump and then like shakes his foot off and falls over and hits a rhinoceros's ass, and all this shit goes down. That is what this guy walked into and has been just dealing with, this circus, for the last year and a half. And then they're like, dude, for all your efforts, you want to run the circus? And he's like, at this point, I guess. What else am I going to fucking do? Yeah, why not? That was this guy's answer to their request for him to take over Cyberpunk. I'm not doing anything else. Dealing with this shit show so long. Well. So, I don't know. It's kind of crazy for a game that I guess has been technically under development since 2012. Restarted development in 2016, is now being helmed by a dude that basically was, I guess, ostensibly coming on to just shepherd this game across the finish line. And now he is just desperately like taping it together so that maybe Sony will allow them to sell it on their store.
You know those videos where at the end of the marathon, the person who's like in first collapses, and then the second place person like picks them up and helps them across the line.
Sure, yeah.
That's what they were hoping this guy would do.
Yeah.
But he just like looked at the person and he's just shrugged. And that's kind of where he came in. He looked at the person stumbling around on the ground. He was like, I don't know.
I don't have enough strength to pick him up. I'm not going to be in a Gatorade documentary. But I will win this marathon. So
he just ran across the finish line. He's like,
eat my shit. I'm number one. That fucking guy fell over and I didn't. So good luck, Cyberpunk.
One good thing that I did notice out of this story, which was interesting, which I haven't, maybe because I haven't been paying attention that much, but I haven't noticed before. CD Projekt Red 2.0. Did you see that mention?
No, what?
They're altering their strategy, so they're developing multiple AAA titles at the same time instead of one game at a time, which we know the development cycle now is 27 years for a game.
Yeah.
So yeah, they finally stepped into the current market, and now they're doing more than one game at once, apparently. So we'll see how that goes for them.
It's just like, now stick with me on this metaphor.
We couldn't do one at a time. Let's try two at a time.
Yeah, dude, so CD Projekt Red is the archer that was really, really talented at archery, hitting the bullseye every time. And then they got a gun. They got a pistol. And they're like, try to hit the target. And they're like, okay, cool. And they shoot, and it doesn't even get on the paper. Like, not even on a corner. And their first response is like, dude, should we put our hand on, like, the butt of the pistol and try to stabilize it? They're like, hey, give me another fucking pistol. I'll see if I can hit it with two at the same time. It just makes more sense. I'll just be shooting two bullets. One of them has to hit the target. And they're like, okay, we'll dual wield.
It's harder with one hand. No.
No.
I really think this is going to work.
And everyone's like, just go back to archery. And they're like, what? No, we don't do that anymore. We shoot guns. Good luck, CD Projekt Red, with your dual-wielding pistols.
Dual-wielding, both of them turned to the side.
Yeah.
You know, like
turning them to 90s the side.
Gang member.
Because now you're a gangster. Yeah. And now everyone knows you mean business. You're either cocking your pistol, pumping your shotgun, or you just turn it to the side, which unfortunately doesn't have a sound effect.
Yeah.
Like drawing a sword out of a leather scabbard apparently does. Okay, here's an interesting one. Skyrim, that little indie game. Skyrim came out 10 years ago this year. 2011.
It's a 10-year-old game.
And that officially means that it has been longer. The time between Skyrim and Morrowind is shorter than the time between Skyrim and today. So if you guys remember, because some people that grew up with just Skyrim don't really know. Some people just don't know. And that's not like a shot. It's just that some people don't know that it's part of a larger series. It was the fifth of the games, the Elder Scroll games. And so the most recent one before Skyrim was called Oblivion. We're not talking about that one. We're talking about the one before Oblivion,
before that one.
which
Morrowind.
is Morrowind, the third one.
Yes.
That is so. I mean, it's so crazy. Like, they didn't have an Elder Scrolls game on this generation. PlayStation 4, Xbox One, no Elder Scrolls game. What?
It's been a decade.
It's been a decade, and all we got out of it was like Fallout 4, and it was like, it was all right. Like, I just think that's, I don't know. So I think it's wild. And if you look and your first thought is like, oh, well, then what is like the plan? Isn't that the next game they have coming out? Which was my first thought, was like, okay, so it's been, some time, but games take a little bit longer to develop every year. Like, AAA games seem to take a little bit longer, which is fine. You just kind of understand that because you have to bake in an extra 20 middle managers to fuck up everything and make the development cycle like twice as long, which is fun. That's just how it fucking works now.
A few executives leaving the company, starting the project over.
You have to bake in at least 2 full restarts. You got 8 years and really going to only be working on the game for a year and a half. That's how game development works now. So
just how it is.
You're like, okay, so that's fine, JD. Well, then when is Elder Scrolls 6 going to come out? Well, not anytime soon, because apparently Bethesda's working on a game that does not even have a Wikipedia page. That's how fucking like nebulous this game is. It's called Starfield, and you don't know anything about it because no one knows fucking anything about it other than it has to come out before Elder Scrolls 6 comes out. So a game, like I said, that doesn't even have a Wikipedia page because there's so little detail on it, that game has to come out before you guys will ever see Elder Scrolls 6, which has already been like basically the length of 2 different Elder Scrolls games since Skyrim. I just think this is crazy. And here's my question, Peterson. Is there enough goodwill? Does Bethesda have enough goodwill to whiff on Starfield? Because like, if they're banking like, oh, they whiffed on Fallout 76. They did a pretty good job with Fallout 4. It was a mainline title in the Fallout series.
Yeah.
It furthered the story. It built off of Fallout 3. And while people had gripes about things like the building and the combat, ultimately no one griped about the fact that it was a Fallout game.
Like, you didn't have to do that stuff. You could you could just ignore it and play a Fallout game.
But they actually got the game out and you could play it. And then they whiff on Fallout 76 so hard because it was clear cash grab that I'm just wondering, like...
Well, real quick, 76, I will say, I'd say the consensus now is that it has bounced back and it's a fun game now.
Well,
it's a good game.
Well,
but I mean, I'm probably not going to play it.
Here, okay, right? So I my one thought that's kicking around my head is that their new master, Microsoft, might not be so patient. Might not look at this and be like, why are you guys dicking around? No, you have to get these both out. Like, get them out now. Because Microsoft, having just purchased Bethesda, and they come in behind, they open the circus tent, and what do they see? They have no fucking idea what they're doing with Starfield, and Elder Scrolls 6 is just like a couple teams just making assets and dicking around. And they're like, well, we just figured we had some time. I don't think Microsoft is going to tolerate that. I think they're going to be like, all right, how much money do you need to make time not an issue? Because we want to get this game out. And so that brings up my next point, because I do think that, Peterson, like you mentioned, like Fallout 76 is doing well and probably continuing to bring in money. It brought in money. Fallout 4 brought in money. These guys have a shit ton of runway. And now they just got purchased by Microsoft, one of the larger companies on the planet. So they do have a pretty good backing. And so my question is, should game developers like this that have these opportunities, should they just take forever on their games? This is a trend we're seeing a lot. So for example, very similar, Halo right now. But Halo 5, the most recent Halo game, came out in 2015. And so we're coming up on the point where there's more time between Halo 5 and now, or Infinite, which keeps getting delayed, than it took them to make 3 Halo games. Halo 1, 2, and 3 came out between 2001 and 2007, just 6 years. And that's how long it's been since Halo 5. So, and then, Grand Theft Auto. Somehow Grand Theft Auto 4 and 5 both came out on the 360 and PlayStation 3. Haven't seen a single Grand Theft Auto on this last console. Didn't see a single. So I feel like we're seeing a lot where these studios take forever. But then what happens? Sometimes we get when they finally are like, okay, well here's the release date. We're gonna make it happen. That's how we get Half-Life Alyx. That's how we get Anthem. That's how we get Cyberpunk. So what do we do? Like, what's the advice here? Like, what do studios with infinite runway that just keep running on that runway and never actually finish a game? But when they're like, okay, here's the release date, they actually sit down and make it. It's garbage.
Yeah, I have like mixed thoughts about this, right? And I don't think so. Part of me, I don't think it's fair to compare like a GTA with like a Fallout or a Elder Scrolls, because GTA will continue to pull in money because it's a games as a service, right? People can play the GTA Online or something like that, and people do. You don't necessarily, and part of their thought thinking has to be, we're making so much money on GTA 5.
Why would we make 6?
If we mess up on 6, are we going to shoot ourselves in the foot, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I get that, but a game like the Elder Scrolls, right? This is a huge series.
Mm-hmm.
I think 10 years is too long, because I think even if with generation changes and whatnot, are you telling me a seasoned game studio cannot make another game like this in a decade? In 10 years? That's too long.
Well, and you wait so long that like all the stuff that if they'd made Elder Scrolls 6 right after Skyrim, they could have reused a lot of the stuff.
Yep.
Can't reuse anything now.
Look, it's not. Nope. I would say it is not hard to come up with the story for these games, because the story is minimal. I mean, when you break it down,
you could do it Skyrim story in 3 sentences.
Yeah, like the story is not huge. We have hundreds, if not thousands, of people who could come up in a day. If you said, "Hey, you got 24 hours, pitch me 3 or 4 side quest ideas," you would have a million great ideas, right? Side quests are not hard to come up with, right? None of those things are hard to come up with. We know how to make characters. We know how to do the work. So what's taking so long? I get it that there's a ton of work that comes into these sort of things. But again, you have 100 people working on this for 10 years?
I think the problem is not having a finish line. And when you say, like, we're not going to release this game till we release that game, you're just saying there is no finish line. Take your fucking time. Do whatever you want.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you, like, I know that it's really... I think more and more I work in software, I realize it's a terrible thing to compare to video games, because software development and video game development is so wholly different. But they use the same disciplines and follow the same principles and standards.
Yes.
And that leads you in a place where you're like, in this, where you don't have any end goal and you're just making stuff to make stuff. Oh, what a mess. That's how you get with Cyberpunk, where people were just like, no one was communicating. Everyone was just making their own stuff on their own time because it didn't really matter. Because there's no need for efficiency when there's no deadline.
Is this a like serious lack of project management in the video game industry? Or is it like a little bit of that procrastination, right? Hey, we've got a project. We know we've got.
We can make it this a little cooler.
Yeah,
let's focus on making that a little cooler first,
because they know they're gonna. Once the marketing gets a hold of this and they've set up some dates and they're ready to go, you know they're going to start that crunch, right? So we've had years and years and years. How do you avoid that? I think it is bad project management. That being said, I am okay with companies taking a little bit longer to keep baking the game. If they have that runway to do that, but on a major franchise with a major studio, you should always have an Elder Scroll game being worked on.
Yeah, and you need to have...
Until people are like, I'm done with Elder Scrolls and we don't want to play these anymore. Like, they should always be cooking one.
Look, they never, and this is going to be you're going to be like, JD, are you serious right now? They never miss a release of Call of Duty. They never miss an annual release of Call of Duty.
Yeah.
Because they have ball-buster project managers that are like, this game needs to fucking come out this year. I don't care if you have to strip a bunch of crap out and it's the same shitty game that you had last year. This game is getting stamped and printed on this date. Get it out. Yeah. I think you need to bring at least some of that in, because when you have the dudes that are working on Elder Scrolls 6 and they're like, oh, hey boss, like I made this map like way dope. I did this, spent this time, did this, but I think I could make it a little cooler if I did this, that, and the other. And because you're like, this game may come out in 8 years. Of course you're like, yeah, dude, do that. That sounds great. I think that's where you need someone to step in and be like, no, we're done. We're moving on to this next thing because we're going to get this game out. But there's no desire to get games out when you don't have a release date and you don't have any timetable at all. And with that lack of desire, that's how you keep having these same things happen over and over again. Where
every studio,
you develop the
is
game,
like a problem in the industry.
It's a process problem. That's all this is. And when you work on something for 8 to 10 years, and then an article comes out and they're like, actually, all of the work was done in 1.5 years. That tells me that with some decent project management, you could have made 2 games in those 8 years.
Yes.
And they could have both been baller. But you made one shitty one in a year and a half and took 10 years to do it.
Yep. So I think with Bethesda specifically, you asked this question earlier. I think, what's their Starfield? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
I think Starfield doesn't have to be great. If it is, that would be a boon. God. But it doesn't have to be great. But if Starfield bombs and the next Elder Scrolls game bombs, they're in a bad spot.
Well, because that you just described 10 years. 10 years of Bethesda right there. Because Starfield's like 5 years out, and then another 5 years for Elder Scrolls. We're looking at like 2028 before we have both these games out.
I think gamers, especially who grew up with Elder Scrolls, are going to be able to like differentiate if Starfield's bad and be like, it's okay, Elder Scrolls is coming out. But if Elder Scrolls comes out and it's bad, it's over, right? And no one's going to be excited again for the next Fallout or whatever, because we're going to lose a lot of faith in them. And Microsoft will see that, they'll dissolve them, and they'll integrate them into Microsoft Game Studios or whatever it is, and then Bethesda won't exist anymore, right? They'll work on whatever Microsoft tells them to work on.
So hopefully they can hire some decent project managers.
Fingers crossed.
Okay, so this Epic versus Apple trial is, I guess, wrapping up in sorts. And The Verge published, quote, 9 things we learned from the Epic versus Apple trial. We're going to blow through these really quickly.
Yeah, most of them I don't have anything to say. There was a couple that I thought was interesting.
Sounds like the PlayStation Fortnite crossplay deal, if you guys pay any attention to crossplay news, Sony is typically the real thorn in every gamer's side because they really do not like crossplay because they don't like anything that they're not getting paid directly for. Seems like Epic has really, really sweetened the pot for PlayStation, which makes sense considering, like we just said, PlayStation accounts for a big chunk of Fortnite's profits. So Epic just did whatever.
It said PlayStation is the top revenue driver for Fortnite.
Yeah.
Which that's a little bit surprising. But so of course, Epic's going to throw them some cash to do crossplay because crossplay benefits. Well, it benefits.
You said throw
everybody.
them some cash. It seems like a business bribe. Is that what these are called?
No, JD. I'm looking over at the lawyer sitting in the corner, and he's shaking his head fervently.
Yeah.
He's saying no. They throw them some cash is what he wants me to say.
He's like, that is the preferred nomenclature. Something else that, speaking of throwing cash, this just boggles my fucking mind. The App Store brought in more than $60 billion in 2020.
Dude.
$60 billion from the App Store on iPhones.
Dude, that's not my favorite part about this section.
Christ. That is an unseemly amount of cash. just from one part of their business.
Yeah, $60 billion. The best part about this, though, is that top Apple executives, they're like, how much did the apps, in court, they're saying, how much did the App Store bring in profit-wise? And they're all like,
they're like, what do you mean by bring in?
There's no way to know.
There's no way to know what that even means.
They
bring in? Is that a thing?
They outright just say,
I don't know.
I don't know. They say, what did he say? He had no idea if the App Store brought in more money than it spent since 2009, quote, because that's not how I look at the business.
He's like, I literally cannot conceptualize the amount of money that the App Store makes, so I don't even try. The number is so enormous, so large, my brain cannot actually fathom it. So how much does it make? I don't fucking know, and I can say that honestly.
We may have spent $60 billion. We maybe didn't. I don't know.
Like $1 billion.
I just love
billion.
Are the accountants that work there? They're just like, oh my gosh, please stop saying this. We look like the biggest idiots on the planet right now. They have to know. I cannot believe they don't know.
So basically, this is a megacorp on megacorp slugfest, and it's just coming out that they make so much fucking money.
They're all swimming in it.
Holy
is what we realize.
Christ. People literally are starving to death in America, but this is where our money is going. And I guess the other thing is that Tim Sweeney has been up Tim Cook's ass about this for years. He even sent him a personalized email, and then Tim Cook ghosted him. It's just weird, clingy junior high behavior between ultra billionaires over they want to make an extra couple billion here or an extra couple billion there,
and they're real nitpicky about all this.
Holy shit!
Dude, it's killing me.
That's crazy. More Skull and Bones news. This is that pirate game that Ubisoft Singapore is working on. This is something that we kind of alluded to.
Is this news?
This isn't really news, but Skull and Bones has officially restarted development. Guys, this is what we're talking about. Restarting development means that, you basically look back on the last couple of years and it is gone. You just threw that money in a dumpster and just poured gasoline on it and lit it on fire. And now you're starting over, and the shit you may have learned may actually be detrimental to further development because you're stuck in your own old bullshit that you wanted to do on the old game. And now you have lead developers quitting because they're pissed that all the shit that they learned about pirate physics is now useless because you're switching engines or some other garbage. Guys, Dude. This is not great.
Is killing me. This game was supposed to come out in 2018. It is 2021, and they're restarting it.
The thing is, what's beautiful about Ubisoft versus Bethesda, because Bethesda does a pretty good job of keeping shit under wraps, but Ubisoft is just it's so fully staffed by weird, gross perverts.
They just let it all hang out, literally and figuratively.
We know why Ubisoft is having problems, and it's because the self-aggrandizement of these perverts is vastly more important than actually making video games to them. And that's what happened at Ubisoft Singapore. It was not a game studio that was working on a game as much as it was a monument to one dude's perversions and his weird sense of entitlement and power. And the game was kind of secondary to that. And this is what happened.
Dude, this is crazy to me. This game's not coming out. I will be shocked. If this comes out, I think that's a huge mistake. They should just cancel it at this point.
You should cancel it. What you should do is have a pitch session with all your top developers and creative leads at Singapore and be like, guys, you've been working on this shit. You've been playing around. We're starting over. Pitch me something fresh. If you got something entirely fresh, you want to make this Space Pirates, now is the fucking time because this is not working. And you've got to be not afraid to do that type of shit because at this point, it's a sunk cost fallacy. Be like, oh, well, we have a game. We have a name. That is literally all they have ever fucking had is a name.
And Bones.
Skull and
Bones.
Bones.
Even a great name.
And then the follow-up pitch doesn't even make sense anymore, which is oh, well, it's like Assassin's Creed Black Flag. And now everyone's like, what? Assassin's Creed, what one was that? When was that? Like 2011? You're making that again? What the fuck? Like, so there's no reason to hang on to this other than like we have a name.
Dude,
and it sounded cool, name. Kind of.
They can't get rid of it.
They love the name.
It's not even that like creative.
It's not even good. They could have called it like Jolly Rogers, and I'd be like, all right, you got to keep going on that name.
Yeah. And
it would give you more flexibility. Jolly Rogers could be like a cartoon.
No, I'm pretty sure Leisure Suit Larry owns Jolly Roger.
Jolly Roger.
They made a pirate Leisure Suit Larry. It's called the Jolly Roger.
Okay, well, here's a Ubisoft game that will come out. We know it will come out because they just keep these coming out, just like Call of Duty games.
Ubisoft, some of the studios have no problem making games, and then some of them cannot figure it out to save their lives.
Yeah, like when you have a studio that you acquire in Singapore and then you ship out, you fucking export a pervert out there to run it. Jesus.
You send the pervy guy.
Yeah, why was that their decision? Let them run their own studio. They don't need your perverts. They probably got some of their own.
Dude, they have their own perverts. Leave them where they are.
Dude,
we don't need your French perverts.
Perverts is like the number one export of Ubisoft in Paris. That is their number one export. Perverts. Fuck you guys. Keep it in your pants. Far Cry 6 looks awesome. They had a worldwide gameplay reveal trailer thingy with people talking about the story, which is like, it's kind of like Cuba kind of thing and like freedom fighters. It's a Far Cry game. That's it. Yeah. But the gameplay looks so tight. Tons of weapons, tons of cool things. There's one thing that like it's like basically like a backpack, mortar backpack, and your character just like
full of
stops in front of a tank, and she just like puts one knee down, and then apparently has like a built-in angle reader in her hips, and then just measures exactly where she needs to be to shoot this mortar at a tank, and just takes out a tank.
Yep,
it's flamethrowers. You stab people in the chest. That's cool. It looks sick. Looks like we're gonna get another Far Cry game,
guys. We're also. Look, you had me at Giancarlo Esposito, okay? This guy is the best villain.
Is that the guy? Is that
Gustavo Fring from...
Oh, man, yeah. He's a bad guy in everything.
And he's so good. Like
he plays himself.
I'll never see him as a good guy, like, ever.
Yeah.
Because he's too good at this. He's in The Mandalorian as a bad guy. He just plays a great bad guy. And so, man... I saw him in this, and in the like trailers, I know and it's not even him. I mean, it is him, but it's not.
It's exactly looks like him.
It looks. They even captured perfectly like his facial movements and
his little freckles. Got it all,
dude. They nailed it, and I love it, and I want to play this. I was telling JD, I've been craving, which seems weird, but I kind of want to play a Far Cry game again because I love just the solid shooting mechanics. It's not hard. Right?
It's like a Fast and the Furious movie or a Bond movie. You're like, I think it's time for me to get one of those.
Everything crazy is happening.
Yeah.
You can drive and shoot. They don't care.
And it's kind of garbage, but you're like, this is my kind of garbage. I like this garbage.
But the thing is, it plays well. At least with the last Far Cry game I played, it played so well. It was seamless. The movements were great. It wasn't clunky. The guns feel good, and that's what you want. You just want to feel like sometimes you just want to go shoot a camp of bad guys, and you want the gun to feel good in your hand, and when you're shooting it to feel good and sound good and look good. And Ubisoft does that. I kind of want another Far Cry game.
So this one's out October 7th. Kind of weird. They didn't push for October 6th for Far Cry 6, but
so close, guys. They weren't thinking about it. They need to hire you as a consultant for like naming.
Everyone does. Just like to run. I just like it. Not even a consultant. Just like basically like a copy editor at this point. Like I am just your last check, but I will pump the brakes and be like, "Whoa,
you're kidding me, right?
You got
October 7th. Guys, this is Far Cry 6. You got to release it on the 6th.
I love the release plan. Love the release trailer. Everything's looking pretty good. But I just had a question about this release date. You guys know it's You guys did on the 7th, right?
Oh yeah, that's the day we release games. No, I don't care about any of that.
No.
I don't know. Probably one nerd will notice that it's Far Cry 6 released on the 6th. Doesn't matter. We have to do it. If we don't do it, we've failed everybody.
This is why you hired me. Some rumors, a little rumored news.
Dude, I love this song.
Valve is possibly working on a handheld Steam console called the Steam Pal. So this showed up in the beta client update files. So for the beta client, that is the test, I guess, client for people that volunteer for Steam when they're trying out beta features in the Steam game client, which is a store and how a lot of people launch games. So they updated this, and someone noticed in the update files something called Steam Pal. This is called codename Neptune.
The code names are always better than the actual names, I've realized.
But dude, Steam Pal, like I'm sitting here thinking, there's got to be a name here. I couldn't think of it. Peterson proposed Steam Boy.
Dream Steam. No, here's how this comes about.
Steam Gear.
There's a board meeting. They're like, all right, guys, what's on the agenda? We have to name our handheld console. We've tasked Valve Boston. The guy's like, yeah, I don't know.
Call fucking Steam Pal.
Steam Boy. And we can't tell Boy because of Game Boy, so Steam Buddy. Hey, buddy. No, we can't do that. Doesn't sound right. Steam, hey, pal. Hey, Steam Pal. And like, I guess that's another thing you would say for boy in Boston. Hey, guy. Hey, Steam guy. That's what this sounds like to me. Steam Pal. Hey, pal.
I don't know if it's Boston or Jersey, but it's some East Coast fuck that named this Steam Pal.
Hey, you can't call it Steam Boy because there's already Game
No one
Boy,
west of the Mississippi calls fucking anyone pal.
Hey, pal.
Yeah, that's an East Coast thing.
Hey, guy.
So I don't know what this looks like. What is this going to end up looking? Well, if it was the West Coast, it'd be Steam Dude.
Steam Bro
or Steam Dude. So does this look like the Switch where it's got like it's kind of designed to go from PC to handheld? Is this a pure handheld? And they're just trying to mobilize their Steam platform. I don't know.
All your games are on Steam.
The Steam controller didn't really go over well, so their forays into physical hardware have been kind of middling, but the Index did really well. So that's the other question. Is this something that incorporates VR? Because this could be their answer to the Oculus Quest, which is the VR headset owned by Oculus, owned by Facebook, that just does, you don't need to plug it into a computer or anything. It can just do it by itself and do all the processing in VR inside the headset itself. I don't know. It could be any of these things.
Hey, pal.
It definitely isn't going to get a good name. And then, so if you guys remember Sierra Online, if you remember it, you're older or as old as Peterson.
Yeah, you're my age or older.
Yes. Sierra Online was a lot of point and click and adventure games back in the olden days.
King's Quest, Space Quest, Heroes Quest, all
and
that
of
stuff.
Course, Peterson's favorite, Leisure Suit Larry.
Some LSL.
A little LSL. Well, the founders of Sierra Online, I don't know if you guys remember, they were a husband-wife duo, Ken and Roberta Williams. Roberta? Yeah. Roberta. Well, these two basically sold Sierra Online in the late 80s or 90s and then just fucked off, bought a boat, and just been on a boat for 20 years.
They were never heard from again.
They were doing the wise thing that everyone that sells their company should do, is just buy a boat and fuck off. Great. But
just get out of here. You did it. You
did it. You did
won.
it. Don't stick around like Zuckerberg. That's a terrible idea.
Please don't.
Just get out. Just get out. Well, they're coming back. and they're returning to game development with a secret new project. And I think they sold their boat. Now they have a bunch of money, and they're making Leisure Suit Larry MMO.
Steam guy.
It's gonna be the first game on the Steam guy.
It's gonna be called Leisure Suit Larry, the Steam Pal.
What about Steam Sport, Steam Tiger, Steam Buddy?
Hey, Sport, Steam Sport.
Steam
oh my gosh.
Sport. Steam Sport. Come on.
Sounds like team sports.
I know, that's fucking hilarious. My question is like, okay, so the company is named Valve. And then they're like, oh, well, Valve. And then what comes from a Valve? Steam. So I'm like, what is the other part of like Waterworks that they're going to incorporate for this?
Dude, they're pipe? Like really into Waterworks.
They're going to call their handheld lead pipe.
You cannot call your handheld device anything
laying
with pipe.
I don't know. I don't work at Valve, clearly. I don't know.
You are not the consultant for Valve.
I am not the consultant for Valve.
For Ubisoft.
I only work for Ubisoft. Ubisoft gets it. They're like, oh, you're saying gross stuff. That's our fucking language.
They're into this.
They're like here for it.
They're really into it.
The last thing here in Megacorp news, Netflix apparently wants to break into the video game business. Experts that, Business Insider talked to said that's a bad idea. So the cherry-picked experts don't like it. My opinion is that Netflix, like every major tech firm, must walk this route of penance. I don't know why. This is some pilgrimage they've decided that every tech company must walk down the road of just abject failure in the attempts to break into the video game industry by just throwing money at it.
Hey guys, we got money. Yeah. Video games make money, right? Yeah. Okay. So can we move? I don't know. $40 billion over there. I guess
it'll make us $80 billion.
Let's do it. Yeah. Obviously, it's a money printing machine.
Not. I don't know why. I don't know what you've got to be. Dude. Like, what's got to be going on inside your head as an executive at one of these companies after watching Amazon and Google and all these other companies fail as they try to do this, and then being like, well, yeah, they fucked up, but we're Netflix. We, I don't know.
I really hope
we did the mail thing. And now we're basically ready
foray into video games
to make a video game console. I don't know. What does this look like? Are you going to...
I hope they're trying to take this another route. Like they want because they're trying to hire a video game executive, right? That's what we know right now. Which again, that's the Amazon model. It's like, I don't know, hire a bunch of video game people and
quote unquote video game people. Hire a bunch of executives that haven't actually like touched a line of code in 20 years.
Yeah, hire them. Get us a video game guy. So I'm hoping they're not saying they want to develop video games because it won't end well. We just know it. It's not going to end well. What I hope is they're hiring someone who has ins in the industry so they can start selling their properties to video game companies the best way possible.
Now that's an idea. And you could do crossovers. That could be pretty cool.
Yep.
That's kind of interesting.
Guys, don't jump into video games.
Yeah, just don't follow the exact same route that Google and Amazon followed.
Just look at they're not doing this well. This is not going well.
So best of luck to you, Netflix. Let's do some kudos.
Kudos.
All right, kudos is our positivity segment. We give a shout out to something we're into, and Peterson has a duo kudos this week.
A double dip.
What you got?
I took my kudos and I dipped it twice in chocolate, so it's even healthier.
Yep.
There's a show on Disney Plus that I've been looking at for a long time. I knew it was coming. It's The Bad Batch. If you're unfamiliar, The Bad Batch comes from the Star Wars universe. It is an animated series in the same animation style as the Clone Wars. And in fact, the Bad Batch is a group of clones who they were like a test group of clones. They took a bunch of the attributes and amplified them, right? So there's one guy who's like a really good tracker. There's a sharpshooter, right? They all have like some specialty. But the problem is, to do that, they couldn't follow orders as well as the regular clones. And so they're called the Bad Batch because they're this specialized group of clones that's kind of frowned upon because they just kind of do what they want. They're kind of go rogue all the time, and they're kind of crazy. So they were introduced to us in the Clone Wars, that Bad Batch was, and now they've got their own show. The show takes place, like all shows, I feel like, at Execute Order 66, right? That's like the beginning.
The only interesting thing that ever happened.
Dude, because it was such a great point, because it was a huge turning point, right? And so it's like automatic built-in drama. Mm-hmm. So Disney's like, let's go there. Let's do that. And so the Bad Batch starts at Execute Order 66, and of course they don't follow orders so well, so you can imagine how this goes. And so I didn't think it would be I didn't think I'd like it as much as I do. It's still going. It's still going. They're releasing episodes every Friday. I just watched episode 5, I think. I like it a lot. Like, I'm really into it. They're bringing back characters that we've seen one time, like Saw Gerrera is in it. The Rancor from Return of the Jedi is in it. They're just kind of digging into those Star Wars pockets, seeing what they can come out with. But this is good. It feels a little different. It feels a little more raw, I'd say. There's like blatant killing in it. There's a scene where they execute a whole bunch of civilians, like women and children and stuff, Thanos style. You know how like when they go to execute like half of the population, he picks up what's her face as a little girl, and they're like that. They just like straight up execute them, and it kind of shows it off screen. You like don't see them, but you know it's happening off screen. It kind of fades away. Dude, it's crazy, but it's very good. So on Disney Plus, The Bad Batch, you can either, if you currently subscribe to Disney Plus and just never cancel it like I do, just watch it there, or wait till it's done like everyone does with Mandalorian and then just binge the whole season. But I do think if you like the Clone Wars, which I still recommend, the final season of Clone Wars was so good. If you like that at all, The Bad Batch definitely is something to check out.
That's tight. And you have another one.
And one more. I had to do this one. JD, I have to do this one.
Oh
I am
God.
Compelled. I can't.
You are
not
legally obligated.
Yep.
To every single time Brandon Sanderson is in the news to mention him.
Okay, but JD, I got legitimately excited. Okay. So
you lost it. You were losing your shit.
Yes. I logged in. Actually, I pulled up Google on my phone. You know how there's like news stories below it? When you're just on Google, it'll pull up some like relevant news stories. And this was the first one. Like, Google knows me. They know me pretty well at this point. It was the top story. I saw it. I freaked out. I can't even remember what I was going to go search for. I freaked out. Brandon Sanderson, one of his characters from his Mistborn series named Kelsier, he officially has a skin in Fortnite. And I know we're not like major Fortnite players on this podcast, but I do play it. I mean, I play it with my kids. I get to level 100 every season because of the battle pass. So I play Fortnite with my kids fairly regularly. I've never purchased a skin like with money because I always get V-Bucks for free. And so, I this is the first one I immediately bought it. I logged in. Kelsier was on the home screen. I was like, buy. Where's my credit card? Kids, bring me my credit card.
Bring me that credit card right now.
Get it fast. I couldn't buy it fast enough. I was so excited, mostly because A, I get to play a Sanderson character in Fortnite when I play with my kids now, but also B, this is putting Sanderson out there for a new audience. Kids are going to go, who's Kelsier, right? And then see that there's like a whole book series, and then they're going to get sucked in, and then they're going to read the whole Cosmere, and then we're going to take over the world, and then Brandon Sanderson will become president of the United States, and he will still release books at the same rate even when he's president. And
that actually is the most likely part of this entire thing, is that no matter what he's doing, he does not slow down how quickly.
Absolutely not. So this was fantastic news. I was so excited, so I had to give him kudos. Kudos to Epic and kudos to Brandon. So kudos, guys. I'm so excited. Great work.
Great work.
Finally.
All right, let's move on to JD Asks. JD asks.
JD asks.
JD asks.
JD asks?
JD's ass. I don't know, guys. We're going with JD ass. JD's ass. All right, JD asks is this segment where I ask something. Pretty straightforward. Pretty good name.
Pretty good name.
Pretty fucking good.
One of your better ones.
One of the only good ones, honestly. So the only good name. I ask this week because we're talking about games that have just gone awry. And so often it's like, I just wish it was just X, Y, or Z. So my question on JD Asks this week is, if you had a magic wand and you had one game you could just wave your magic wand to fix, what game is it, and how would you fix it? What would be your spell, and what game would you choose? Peterson, I want to hear yours.
Okay, so I had a couple, and I tossed this around in my head, and I might have cheated a little bit on this, because this is a game I genuinely liked, but I want to like it again. And my first one is Morrowind. And here's why. Morrowind came out in, 2004 or something like that, or early, I can't remember. It was a great game, fantastic game. I loved it so much. I've told several times why I never finished it. The game had some really game-breaking mistakes in it. Like, for example, there was a quest, main quest item that I had already gotten randomly and sold it off to some vendor and no idea where it was. I couldn't get it again. Like, my game was just stalled. I couldn't move forward, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's an old game. So really, do I want them to fix it? Yes, there are things I want them to fix. I want them to fix fast travel. I want them to fix that easy fix, right? You can't ruin the game for yourself accidentally.
Yeah.
At fast travel, I don't know if you remember, it was like you had to go to a huge bug in a big city to fast travel, which made it a huge pain in the butt if you weren't near any big cities at the moment. There was no quest. Back then, they didn't have like the quest tracking. So I would be like literally writing down, okay, I need to go to this city. And I'm like, because they all have kind of nonsense names. It's fantasy. And so they didn't have quest tracking. So what I want them to do is I want them to remake Morrowind.
Okay.
Like desperately, like if Bethesda came out and said, you know what, we're still working on Elder Scrolls, whatever this is, 6, and they said, but we're going to release remade, remaster of Morrowind, I would be in for that. Absolutely in. I would buy it because that was a game that was one of the first PC games that I played on my first PC that I built. So,
see, that's an easy, quick win for Bethesda. Go remake a beloved one while you dick around and wait.
Dude, Morrowind could definitely use that treatment.
Yeah,
absolutely.
For me, it would be BioShock 3. I say BioShock 3 because that's what it would be called if I, waved my magic wand.
Yes.
I think my magic wand wave would be to just entirely get rid of Ken Levine, who was so fixated on his former success.
Oh my gosh. Magic wand is to make Ken Levine disappear
from his project, because there was no Ken Levine on BioShock 2, and it was great, and it was an awesome continuation of the story. I thought it was not a disservice, and I thought it built upon and did a lot of great things, because I feel like the people that made it felt like they needed to carry on a legacy and respect the game and the name and the fans of the original.
Mm-hmm.
with BioShock Infinite, Ken Levine was trying to prove something to himself, I guess, that he wasn't a one-trick pony, that he could do another BioShock game that would be so wholly different. But as we've seen a lot of times where creators become like fixated on the perception of the creation itself instead of the creation,
yes,
that's where you get really weird meta shit that isn't fun. It isn't interesting. You look at Westworld recently, when the creators decided they were annoyed that people on Reddit were guessing all of the twists. So they started writing just indecipherable twists into the story that no one could have ever guessed. And then the story becomes indecipherable.
Yeah.
And so
I'm okay. Like if I've guessed the twist and then it happens,
yes,
like I'm okay with
that. That shouldn't be your.
I just want to see it happen.
But that's when that becomes your fixation, or with Ken Levine, when your fixation becomes making the counter BioShock.
Yeah.
Like this one, the last one is underwater. This one's in the fucking air. I'm like, okay, that's where you lost me. Immediately lost me. So that would be the thing that I think that if you just handed it to a group of game developers, they would know what you'd given them. They would know what they had and the legacy that they had to honor, and would have made a good BioShock 3. Would it have been groundbreaking? Probably not. BioShock 2 wasn't particularly groundbreaking, but it probably would have been better than BioShock Infinite. I guess. So
I have one or two others. Can I jump in?
Yeah. Oh, totally. I only came with that one. I want to hear your other ones.
Chivalry. And let me tell you this. Chivalry was a game we had so much fun with. Because you jump in, it's crazy. This is a team melee medieval times battle fest, right? You're just fighting giant battles. There's like little guys running around, but it's just like oh no, there's not. This is just guys. This is just players. It's like 50 on 50 or something crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was so cool. It felt like a medieval battle.
It felt like a medieval battle until you got to the level 30 or whatever. Mm-hmm. Once you hit level 30, then you had to play at the higher difficulty.
Yeah.
And the problem was, all of a sudden, everyone was so good. We were having fun. I wasn't great. I'd get a few kills. I had a lot of fun with it. And then we hit level 30, and I couldn't kill a single person.
Just getting slaughtered.
The level, they needed Magic Wand Wave. They need a better matchmaking system, and I know it's hard with that many people, but a better matchmaking system would have kept them going. Also, some quality of life stuff, like your guys, maybe make the combat a little more seamless, like mash up Chivalry and what was the Ubisoft one, For Honor, which the combat was really fluid, but again, it was really too hard. I want to be able to like jump in and just kill a guy from the side without him doing like a backflip and then blocking it, and then pulling out a knife and throwing it into my skull. And I'm like, how did this happen? Dude, this never happened before.
Chivalry, when you hit level 30, that was going from being the hero in a fantasy movie to being the fucking like red shirt in the fantasy movie, the throwaway orc that just gets barely half a second of screen time when his skull and helmet is getting split open, but they don't linger because they want to keep that PG-13 rating. That's how it felt once you hit level 30. Like, you were just getting your head smashed in. You had no idea why. Like, where did that guy get a horse?
Yeah. Wait, there's horses in this game?
That doesn't seem fair.
He's like running around on fire, swinging like two maces and on a horse, and you're like,
that doesn't seem fair.
You look at your sword and you're like, oh, this isn't going to cut it. It's not even long.
The Lord only gave me a rake to fight with, so here we go.
Swing a rake at a horse and just get run down, and you're like, respawn in
I'm like,
30
seconds. Why was I included in this battle? Couldn't you just left me on my farm?
It would have been better if you just left the rake on the ground.
With
the pointy up, so maybe it'll slap someone
Couldn't
in the face.
Couldn't you just buried this rake about a foot down? It would have been way more effective than me. Now I'm dead. No one's going to look after my farm. My oldest kid is 4. Wait, he died. Oldest kid is 3.
The rest of my family's going to starve to death.
Okay, what is your last one?
Red Dead Redemption 2. And here's what I would wave. I honestly speed up the gameplay just a tiny bit. right? Because everything took too long, and after, which was cool at first, right? You go in and you're searching drawers, and your guy's like, "Here we go. I'm gonna open the drawer slowly. Look in there. Okay, well, look what I found, a potion." And then you look in the next drawer, close the drawer, go in, and it was like everything was so slow.
Mm-hmm.
And it was cool at first, but after 20 hours, you're like, I'm going to murder this guy. I'm going to find you, Arthur, and murder you. And so that speed up the gameplay. And then, dude, the story. I know we talked about this, but the story needed a lot of work. But not only that, Red Dead Online, which I've talked about a few episodes ago or a few months ago, it was great. It's a lot of fun, but it's so repetitive, so grindy. Feels kind of empty. It just is not the same world as in Red Dead Redemption, which if they would have just made that, right? Fill out the world, make some crazy quests, make it a little less grindy. It could have been really fun. Like, it could have been a really great game, but instead it was like this empty world of hackers and just ultra grinds. And so, I mean, I think they ruined that, because that could have been a really great experience. So Red Dead just needed, like you said, what's their names? The brothers,
the Hauser brothers, Dan and Dougie.
Dude, take them off. Add someone who knows how to write a story, like for real, knows what they're doing when it comes to making a story, and just do that. And I mean, I feel like the game, it was already good. Got good reviews, won Game of the Year several times. But it could have been a masterpiece, I feel like, if they just freaking chilled out a little bit.
Just a little bit, guys. Okay, let's move on to another old segment.
The good. The bad. The ugly.
All right, good, the bad, and the ugly is our segment where we talk about the good, bad, and ugly aspects of a certain video game thing. And because last week we were giving high praises to Mortal Kombat, did you watch that yet, Peterson?
No, I didn't.
You bastard. Now you'll never be able to see it. You have to go
now
see it in theaters.
Now I gotta figure out where I can find it.
So we were talking about how it was kind of surprising that Mortal Kombat was dope. It was kind of crazy to see a good video game movie. And so I wanted to ask, what is the good, the bad, and the ugly of the latest generation of video game movies? And this is really kind of interesting because Peters and I looked, there are not a lot of video game movies that have come out in the past 10 years. In fact, there are just not a lot of video game movies, period.
In general.
Like, there's a list on Wikipedia, and it's like 45. It's not that long. I will read every single movie that has come out in the last 10 years, and it will not take that long. Let's go. Resident Evil Afterlife, Resident Evil Retribution, Silent Hill Revelation, Need for Speed, Hitman, Agent 47, Warcraft, Assassin's Creed, Resident Evil The Final Chapter, Tomb Raider Rampage, Dead Trigger, Detective Pikachu, Sonic the Hedgehog, Monster Hunter, Mortal Kombat, Werewolves Within, not counting that one. That one's not out.
That one
is coming out
next month.
But I don't even know what the fuck that is. So that's all of them, guys. That's like it. Isn't that wild? Since 2010, that is every video game movie that has come out, which is kind of crazy considering, we'll get that many zombie movies this year alone. So
it's weird because everyone wants a piece of the video game pie, like all the major corporations. But we know
maybe
how to
this
make
is what
movies.
Netflix is doing. Maybe Netflix is going to do this, and they're just going to start adapting the shit out of video games, and I'd be here for it.
I'm fine with that.
So there's not that many, but there have definitely been some winners and some stinkers over there of all the games that I just read. So let's just go grab bag style, good, bad, or ugly. Just go for it, Peterson.
Oh, are you saying like which ones were good?
No, just like aspects of the last 10 years worth of video game movies.
I thought that's what you said, and I was like, that is not what I did.
No. We're not going to rank them.
Okay.
Because there's not that many.
Yeah. So the good side of it for me, this is a really simple one. The good side is that they're actually making them. We've seen a little bit of an uptick in the last couple years with some decent ones. Mortal Kombat. I didn't see Monster Hunter.
No.
But it reportedly wasn't great.
You didn't miss anything.
Sonic movie, which doesn't have great reviews, but I thought it was fantastic. It was exactly what I wanted it to be.
Seen it twice. It's dope.
Detective Pikachu, again, a very good movie. They did it well. They did it right. So like these came out in the last like 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
These are Dead Trigger, right? These are some good movies. And so yeah, my good is that they're making them. They're doing this. And if you look at the movies coming out, like there's a decent sized list. Like they're starting to, I think, figure it out, really figure it out, like do it right, because I think it's such a ripe area where they could just make some easy cash as long as they don't completely blow it, which they have done repeatedly in the past.
So one you mentioned, and I'll just do it. It's my ugly, is letting Paul W.S. Anderson make a movie. This is the guy that has directed all of the Resident Evil movies, and he also directed Monster Hunter. And basically, he takes these video game properties and he just twists them into whatever weird action movie that stars Mila Jovovich, who happens to be his wife.
Oh, really? And is that why it's all
he just
Mila
wants
Jovovich?
To see her doing like cool shit in movies, and the video game story is just kind of a background. However, I will admit I have enjoyed a handful of the Resident Evil films, and I probably would chuckle or at least get some joy out of Monster Hunter, which is why it's kind of my ugly, because it's like he's making decent-ish movies. He's making blockbuster-style films, and at least he's making them. He's getting them out there. They're complete films. They're not, like, unwatchable entirely, but they're not great video game movies.
The Resident Evil movies had a huge budget, too.
Yeah, because he
I don't know
just
if you're seeing that
people,
on there.
They
like
did
million?
Well. There were no bombs. Like, people watched them. They're like, that was another one. Okay. They're not, I mean, they just kind of got over them because they got kind of dumb at the end. But yeah.
They have a place. The place is not with me, but they have a place.
And it's gone now. Like, it's done now. So stop letting him make movies with Mila Jovovich.
Don't give him these properties.
It's over.
He's not gonna nail it.
No.
Is what we're saying.
No.
I have an ugly.
Okay.
Or sorry, a bad.
Okay.
The bad is, and this is a very personal bad, pretty much none of these are games that I'm super interested in. You go back down the list. Resident Evil. I never played Resident Evil, right? Just not into that type of game. Silent Hill, same thing. Hitman, Warcraft, Assassin's Creed, Tomb Raider. These are not games that I'm personally obsessed with.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, when are they going to make a game, a Mass Effect or something like that I'm really into, something I was really into, a Fallout. When are they going to do that? That's what I want to see. Something where I can geek out a little bit. Mm-hmm. We got that a little bit with Detective Pikachu. I mean, I'm not a major Pokemon fan, but I'm into it enough. Like I played a couple games.
Yeah, you get the jokes.
I have played the actual Pokemon card game with my kids. I've collected cards with them, right? Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Nope.
So yeah, that's my bad. Make a game for me. Why have they not looked at my
why have you made a Rocket League or a Conker's Blade game for Peterson?
These bastards need to do better.
My bad, and this is something that is a really big theme, I think, in the past 10 years of movies. Gigantic letdowns. Big properties, big games, things that people really have wanted to see adapted to the big screen for years and years, and you get Warcraft. You get Assassin's Creed with Michael Fassbender, and everyone's like, what? That I honestly, until I saw this, had forgotten that movie existed entirely.
Same. Oh my gosh, same exact thing.
Yeah, my brain totally struck that film from the record. Like, it was just, and there was the potential for Sonic the Hedgehog to be the same thing. And I guess Need for Speed could technically classify in there. Like, again, a movie that had Aaron Paul in it, so Jesse from Breaking Bad, and I don't remember anything about that movie. I didn't see it, obviously, but I don't remember like anything, and it probably didn't really, like, did the Need for Speed series have a story? Anyway, I just feel like these huge letdowns that when you have a big property and you can't, like, there's so much pressure and you just release Warcraft, which fits.
Some people loved, but it is not rated well, right?
No, I don't know who loved it.
I think it was somewhere in Asia. They were like way into it. China, maybe.
Oh, yeah, I bet. Oh, yeah, China did love that film.
Yep. But over here, we were like, "What is this?
What is this garbage?"
So I had an ugly.
Okay.
Again, it kind of goes to the properties. Like they made a Rampage movie, like above so many other properties. Like
this is
what?
I think I had this exact same ugly.
Like what? This and they make it, and you're like, this isn't Rampage.
This is The Rock doing a jungle theme. Again, he's wearing a brown shirt. It's halfway buttoned down, and he's got like a brown saddlebag.
Yep. And so you're like, and then it's a giant gorilla, right? And you're like, what? Why? Why did we do this? It's like when they made that, they made a Battleship movie.
Yeah.
And you're
my God, why isn't that on here?
That's a board game.
Oh, you're right.
Like, why? Like, what is this really what you guys like really went for? Like, you thought this was the great property? Rampage, an amazing game, right? Holds a special place in my heart. I loved it growing up. Not the game I would choose to make a movie out of, mostly because that movie exists, right? We have Godzilla versus King Kong. That movie exists. So, like, I don't need that as a property. It felt weird. That's my ugly. Like,
I had that exact same
properties.
One, dude. Yep, just broad adaptations of properties, and they're not really super game related. Like,
yeah,
there wasn't. That was the thing with Mortal Kombat. Is like it was very, very, very much reminding you that this is the Mortal Kombat video game adaptation,
and
like,
that was one of my goods. Is like when they do this right, you have to have fan service in this. You have to. That's what this is. Mortal Kombat, so much fan service. You know, they have to throw.
Dude, Rampage.
Get over here.
Rampage could have fucking worked if you'd made the monsters like sentient aliens, and like there were 2 good ones and like 2 bad ones, and like some were trying to destroy, or they were all bad and they're like trying to have a competition to destroy cities quicker.
I want to see
that would have made more sense. But The Rock's character, the idea of making it human-centric when the entire game is about monsters destroying cities
and eating humans,
you immediately lose it. You've lost the thread right away. Just like if you were like, okay, so it's a Mortal Kombat film, and I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah, I love Mortal Kombat. You're like, no fighting. So the idea is that fighting is bad, obviously, because people get hurt.
Our hero, The Rock, is trying to stop the Mortal Kombat tournament from happening,
and he has to stop it without violence. So he's just throwing flowers.
It's a courtroom
at these guys.
drama.
He's got a flower shotgun. I don't fucking know, dude. I just think that is weird when you just take the property and you just use the name and a couple of the characters vaguely, and then it just doesn't work. I've got a couple of goods because I've been really stoked. One of my goods is when they just do a straight up adaptation. Mortal Kombat wasn't straight up, but it was really borrowing from heavily. I mean, there's 14 of those games, and they all have stories. Yeah. So like there was a lot to borrow, and they cherry picked, but they didn't really make anything up from whole cloth. But I think we saw one that was really crazy in Tomb Raider, which was actually I didn't realize this until I saw the film, having watched Jenna play the game, and was like, wait, this scene is in the game. Wait, the Tomb Raider film, if you guys weren't aware, was a straight-up adaptation of the new remake Tomb Raider series game. Like, it was like a 1-to-1. Like, the film was just like the game, and it was, like, good. The film was well-received. People liked it. I mean, they didn't make any sequels, but they probably realized they would have just been making movie adaptations. But, like, there are enough good games out there that are cinematic enough. The Uncharted games fit this exact same bill.
I'm so interested to see what they do with that.
When they can they won't. I mean, the Uncharted is not going to be doing this. They're going to be trying to make up their own thing. The reason they have Tom Holland and then Mark Wahlberg they don't even put a mustache on him. Christ. So
I want mustachioed Wahlberg, and I want it now.
I want it now. That's like the defining characteristic of his character, and they're just like, nah. He's like, I don't want that. Yeah, I really think that we could do with more straight up adaptations of video games. There are some that are good enough that you could do that.
And if they don't have it, like a Pokemon, right? That would be weird. It's hard to make a straight up adaptation.
No.
But they take the Detective Pikachu story and do that. And there was, again, so many things in it that fans of Pokemon could be like, oh my gosh, you know what I mean? Those moments. And that's what, if you're not going to do it, that's what you need. Sonic the Hedgehog had that same thing. They did not have to include rings in Sonic the Hedgehog movie because that's nonsense. You're just collecting them in the game because you need to collect something because it was the 90s.
Yeah.
And so they have that, but they included it and you're like, oh my gosh, there's the rings. Dude, yes. And like they just try to make it make sense. And that's what you want, right? When they don't do a straight up adaptation, which I would love to see more of. If they do Mass Effect,
don't play around with the Mass Effect story. You do the fucking Mass Effect
just
story.
Give me the story
exactly as it is in the games.
It's good enough. It holds up. Just do it. Like we do that with books. So just do that. And so if you're not going to with like a property that doesn't make sense to do that with, dude, just make it good. Give us a good story and make some of this nonsense stuff from video games make sense, and you've got a winner.
That was one of my goods. Kind of my last one is that they're just being a little more normal about it. Like they're not making it a weird thing.
Yeah,
like the Mario movie, where it's just like a little.
That's
you're
so
like
bad.
You're like two, or like the Doom movie where they're like, we have to do a first person shooter segment in the Doom movie, and it's like, no, just make a normal movie, and you can don't need to take yourself so seriously because you need to like overcome this self-imposed stigma of doing a video game movie.
Yes,
like just lean into it, have fun with it, put the rings in there, have some crazy in jokes in Pokemon that are like teasing at the actual concept of catching Pokemon, which it did. And those and Mortal Kombat, the same thing. All of the dumb parts of the Mortal Kombat story were made into jokes or kind of like hand wave things, or they kind of like smirked at them in the film. And that's what you need to do in order to make the same thing with all the Marvel Universe stuff. Like, yeah, it gets a little too serious, takes itself too seriously, and sometimes it takes itself way too seriously, and you get Thor 2, and you're like, ugh, dial it back. It's a comic book movie, guys.
Well, that's the one other point I would make is they have done this successfully with comic books.
Yep.
They just retell the story. Guys, just do that with video games. I don't know what their hesitation is.
The thing is that's really stupid about that is when you make a video game movie, you're doing this ostensibly because you think that there's a built-in audience that will already be interested in your film.
Yep.
And so if your first move is to alienate that audience to try to capture a larger, more general audience, well, now you've lost your core audience and you're not going to appeal to the other audience because you are writing your own made-up dumb story that's set in the confines of a world you clearly don't understand. And so it's going to end up being the dumb fucking Resident Evil movies over and over again that have now veered so much from the Resident Evil style and storytelling that they don't even make sense anymore.
Yep.
So do you have any more?
Nope, that was it.
Okay, we don't have any dice this week because Danny is enjoying her Memorial Day holiday, and Trent is enjoying...
Not like us losers.
Yeah, Trent is enjoying staving off his own death.
The after effects of COVID shot number 2.
He got it like me, which is where it felt like someone is Kali Ma inside of your stomach, squeezing your guts as if their life depends on
you betrayed the Shiva, didn't you?
Holy shit. Trent texted me. He's like, dude, it feels like someone reached inside and grabbed my guts. And I was like, wow, that is exactly my description of how it was. Laying in the bath, feeling like death. I had a big problem of just generalized feelings of doom. Like seriously felt like I was like, this is how I'm going to be for the rest of my life. I might as well just die.
This is my life now, and I don't appreciate
how bad it fucking sucks. And that's what Trent's dealing with. So that's why Trent's not here this week.
I get it.
I guess he gets a mulligan on that. So that's it. That's the whole
dice.
kit and caboodle.
No dice.
No dice. But some cookies. No dice.
No dice.
This ain't over. All right. For our outro music, we have the theme from Rampage World Tour for the Nintendo 64.
And I'm JD logging off.
Yeah! This is Peter Sad! Going AFK! Peterson Productions! Oh yeah.